Am I the asshole for kicking my nephew out of my house after he hid my husband's inhaler as a prank? My female 30, sister female 39 has cancer. She's a single mom of her 16-year-old son. We were asked to take him in while she gets treated so we could help him focus on studying and provide a normal routine for him. My husband has asthma. He needs his inhaler throughout the day. Thing is, my nephew is a prankster. He'd hide the inhaler as a prank then give it back as soon as there's panic in the house. So far he's done it 2 times and thought it was just him, messing around. The other day, my husband called me while I was at work panicking saying his inhaler was lost. I asked if my nephew had taken it as a prank, but he doubted it since my nephew would give it back instantly after we panic. I got home and we looked for it for hours and had to go to THD hospital eventually. When we got back, we found it sitting at the coffee table. My husband and I looked at each other and next thing we knew, my nephew was giggling upstairs. In that moment, I just lost it. I yelled at him then told him he was no longer welcome in my home. He started panicking and my parents called me to get to the bottom of what happened, but still defended him saying it was a prank and that I took things too far by kicking him out while his mom is struggling. They insisted I take him back but I refused. Now they're giving me hell about being unsupportive and making things more difficult for my struggling sister. They even blamed my husband for not keeping his things locked away. Am I the asshole? Did I make a hasty decision? Not the asshole, ha ha ha, criminally negligent manslaughter as a funny prank guys. Let me just make one thing clear, original poster, there is no situation, argument, or other circumstances where a damn 16-year-old is not a massive asshole for doing this. He's old enough to understand that your husband could die without the inhaler. You're well within your rights to set that boundary. Yay, original poster, drop him off at your folks' place unannounced, and when they inevitably call to protest, tell him you kicked him out as a prank that hasn't yet come to fruition. Original poster could always call the police. I'm sure some time in juvie would be a hilarious prank. Right. I mean, what kind of monster finds it funny that his uncle had to go to the hospital as a direct result of his actions? Question mark. And what did that trip to the emergency room cost them? If they're in the US, that could be crazy expensive. Awesome, terrifying and costly medical emergency, bro. Good one. Not the asshole, it's all fun and games till someone dies from an asthma attack because a spoiled brat stole the inhaler. Your parents just don't want him. Yes, exactly, it's attempted murder and stealing medication, which is a felony. He is 16 and needs to grow up before he seriously hurts someone. He's lucky they're not filing a police report. I don't think they should, necessarily, but they could, and he's damn lucky they haven't. This was no longer a prank. Watching your husband struggle and panic to the point where he went to the hospital. That's too far, way too far. It's no longer a fun prank anymore. It's evil, cruel and malicious. And dangerous. What if your husband didn't make it to the hospital on time and choked in the car? It's an abuse of the generosity of you folks who are graciously hosting him. Kick him out. He is too old and should know better. This is not a small child but a 16-year-old on the verge of adulthood. He's going to learn the hard way. To those complaining, perhaps he needs TP go live with those protesting the loudest. Not the asshole. And still think it's funny when they get back. It's not like he realized that a visit to the hospital for life-threatening issues was a big deal. And, depending on where you live, expensive. Send the hospital bill to the kid, show him how funny his prank was. I'd send a copy of the hospital bill and all treatments incurred to the grandparents, sister and nephew. This is serious, and that's a point that needs to be driven home hard. I'd also think about getting the police to go have a chat with him about how he would be charged for this. He sent your husband to the damn hospital. That's not a prank. Your family who believes you are so unsupportive need to step up and take in this kid themselves if they want to help. Nephew fucked around and found out. He can go live with the grandparents. I am sure they have some great medication he can hide. Just as a prank, of course. Not the asshole. Anytime any of these posts uses the word prank, I instantly know it's something dangerous, cruel or a combination. Luckily your parents can take in this super funny prankster and they can lock up their medications while he just messes around. These pranks all go too far. And this was not funny in the least. Pranks are all supposed to be harmless enough that everyone involved can share a laugh after. These days pranks are just awful. Original poster's husband ended up in the hospital. A few years back a soon-to-be bride was crippled for life after being tackled into a pool. A friend of mine got thrown out of a slowly moving truck, and ended with a ruptured spleen that almost killed him before he could be raced to the hospital for emergent surgery. Give me a few minutes and I can probably list a plethora more. Pranks are not fucking funny, and I cannot wait for this pranking trend to die out ASAP. You know what my idea of a prank was? I slipped a few pieces of pink paper into the stack of white paper for the printer. Just a small thing with a quick and easy solution. Stealing an inhaler? That is attempted murder. My mother is the queen of pranks in our house. Never were any of us harmed. It was silly things like, she'd tie every sock we owned together into a gigantic snake. Would catapult a kiwi at us using a bra as a slingshot. Or would give us some cat kibble as our treat in school lunch. Would sign our homework journals as Bono, would chase us with one of my baby brother's dirty nappies, really a clean nappy smeared with peanut butter, would hide kitty treats in our pillowcases so the cats would wake us up by smacking our heads, would give us cold, hard cash, for birthdays, a €50 frozen into an ice block, simple, funny, and nobody was ever harmed. Those are pranks. Your mom is hilarious, mad respect for all of this. Not the asshole. Asthma can be deadly, and if you're in the US you are probably going to owe a lot of money for that hospital visit. He's 16, not 6. He can live at home and maybe absorb some reality. Hopefully he won't finish his mom off by hiding her meds. What a fuck, man. Not the asshole. Send his parents your bill. His parents are the single mom's sister who has cancer. That's prob not going to work, but I get where you are coming from. It's not about the money. It's about sending a message. And the message is be a parent and discipline your kid before he kills someone. Not the asshole. You're not obligated to have someone in your home who endangers your husband's life, and worse, laughs about it. Absolutely. Let the grandparents take him in if they think it's okay to hide people's medical devices for fun. Nephew is sick and cruel. Do not ask your husband to live with someone that continuously plays Russian roulette with his life. Not the asshole. So if your husband had an asthma attack due to this prank and God forbid died, would they be singing the same tune? 16 years old, this boy knows what he is doing and then lied about it. What if you hid his mother's meds? Would he like? He's got to go. Greater than so, if your husband had an asthma attack due to this prank and God forbid died, would they be singing the same tune? I'm guessing it would be. He's just a child, he didn't know it was that serious. You can't blame him. Your husband should not have to keep his things locked away in his own home. Especially a medical necessity he needs several times a day. Your nephew is old enough to know better. This is not a harmless prank and he is repeatedly doing it. If he is acting out because he is scared for his mother, he should be in counseling. Your parents can look after him for a while until he gets it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. The nephew knew better. It's a prank if everyone can laugh about it afterwards, but your husband landed in hospital, and your nephew was laughing at what he should have seen as a prank gone wrong. He's a hazard. Your parents are also assholes. They are blaming the victim, probably because they don't want anything to do with the nephew either. The fact that y'all had to look for hours then your husband was hospitalized because the nephew didn't return the inhaler is the key fact here. Not only did he cause panic and upset a few times, which was too far in the first place, but then he took a step further to hurt your husband intentionally, which could have even killed him. He knew your husband needed the inhaler and instead hid away and let him suffer through not being able to breathe. It's cruel and sadistic, and this kid clearly needs help. Not the asshole at all, but anyone who is defending him is edit. A word. Not the asshole. Time to go back at your parents with, are you going to support me when I have to bury my husband who couldn't find an inhaler due to a prank? It's extreme but very true and real end result of this type of prank. Your nephew knew what he was doing since he is 16, 2 years from being an adult. He needs to learn consequences now, and I am sorry that his mom and your sister is going through cancer, but that doesn't excuse the son's behavior. Also suggest your parents to take him in since you can't risk your husband's health with actions that have happened multiple times. Keep standing up for you husband, this is an absolute hill to die on. Glad your husband is okay now. Not the asshole. Asthma can be fatal. Your husband's attack was serious enough to warrant a hospital visit. That's not funny. Would they still be thinking it's just a joke if something seriously bad had happened to your husband, as a hospital visit isn't quite serious enough apparently? You wouldn't hide a diabetic's insulin. This is no different. I'm so glad someone pointed that out, because I really think some people see asthma as just a silly little cough, and have no clue that it is a killer. People can die even if they have their inhaler, and even if they get to hospital for treatment for a bad attack. Sometimes the inhaler is not enough and you don't get to hospital in time. It's not a laughing matter, let alone a, I'll hide your medication for a giggle, issue. Not the asshole. Any prank that involves a hospital visit is no longer a prank. Your nephew had hours to give back the inhaler. Instead, he kept it hidden away in his room and giggled about it. I wouldn't let him set foot in my house again. What if the asthma attack had been more serious? How long would you husband have been gasping for air before this child gave back the inhaler? A good prank should also make both parties laugh. Otherwise it's just being an asshole. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. His prank sent your husband to the hospital. And it's not as if it was the first time he did it and couldn't anticipate the result. He's 16 years old, not 2. I know, everyone else is saying, he's 16, not 6, but frankly even a 6-year-old should know better. When I was 2, though, I hid my mom's friend's car keys and I really didn't have any idea, at the time, what chaos I was causing. Not the asshole. Couple of 3 things. Your nephew needs to be evaluated by a behavioralist. That's some pretty sick stuff there. I understand your sister, battling cancer, needs a place and wants her son to stay. It's everybody else in your family. Why doesn't the son go to stay with one of them? Lastly, sounds like your husband needs to have multiple inhalers as a backup. And good for you for sticking up for him, you placed priority on the right relationship. Insurance often will only cover one at a time. They're expensive, and they also expire. Not the asshole. Your parents can take him in where hopefully he won't prank them by hiding their needed medication. And blaming your husband for not keeping his rescue inhaler locked away? Why? Because a 16 years old isn't old enough to know better? So stupid. Because they don't want to deal with him, so it's obviously Hub's fault for having asthma. My BFF I'd known my whole life died almost 10 years ago from an asthma attack. Not the asshole. I miss him every day.